How's in? It's 91 degrees outside. The wind is swirling in a circle. An F2 tornado just hit 2 days ago here. The court is bone dry here and completely soaked right here. There is no windscreens here anywhere. And that means it is the perfect day to do the top 5 clay court tennis shoes for the French Open in summer 2024. Here we go. All right, so coming in at number 5, you can see on my feet is the Nike Vapor Pro 2. These things were on the list last year. But the thing with these is the treads are pretty shallow. So yeah, they work really well on well-maintained clay and on really, really soaking wet clay like right there. It actually gives a much more forgiving profile. Once you start getting on a little more barren clay, that's where these things start to break down. I still say that this tread is one of the best multi-court treads out there. So if you want a shoe, you play 3 days a week on clay, and then you like mix in some hard court, I still think these are one of the better ones. And just the profile of the Vapor Pro 2, whereas on hard courts, honestly, I think they can be a little bit bulky and unforgiving and just a little bit dull. On clay, I feel like their profile really comes together. This is kind of the surface this shoe was kind of more meant to be on. All right, so coming in number 4 is the Adidas Barricade. Now the Barricade obviously comes in a clay and an all court version. I did actually a whole review on the clay and then the footage got corrupted. So I'm actually wearing the all courts right now, but the Barricade to a lot of people could be really unforgiving on a hard court. And I mean, I'm one of those people with a higher arch. However, on a clay court where the court's giving you a little bit more of the forgiveness, the raw playability of the Barricade really shines through. I mean, I've always said this shoe's got some of the best combination of low to the ground feel, but also support from that truss system underneath of it. So kind of like the Vapor Pro 2, the Barricade, if you're looking at raw playability of a shoe on clay, like I said, this shoe really does come to life, much like the Vapor Pro 2. Yeah, on hard courts, they still have great playability. They can just be a little bit more unforgiving in terms of the fit and the comfort underfoot, whether it be the bounce foam version or the repetitor foam version. So I'd say, you know, definitely the number 4 shoe is the Barricade 13 clay, but maybe like a 4.1A or a 4A or a 4.1 would be the Adidas Barricade All Court, which is definitely still the best all court tread shoe for clay. And coming in at number 3, honestly, I'm sick of talking about the Tornado 2 over the last couple years, but it's still one of the best shoes out there, especially for clay. I still think on this list, in terms of protection, rugged support, and just feeling of confidence, this still is the best shoe out there. The only thing that takes it down from the number 1 or number 2 spot is that the pop in it isn't as much as some of the other shoes on this list. You know, to me, it's on par with the Barricade, maybe a little bit more than the Vapor Pro 2, but it's a little bit more protective than those shoes. You get a little bit more confidence, a little bit more of that hovercraft feeling on the ground. But unlike the top 2 shoes on this list, yes, that blue shoe on the forefoot, incredibly forgiving and incredibly tactile. It just doesn't have the pop of the top 2 shoes on this list. All right, so coming in at number 2 is the Yonex Eclipsean 5 Clay. This shoe, oh my God, the tread is such a different concept. I mean, it's half grass shoe, half clay. And the one thing that kept them from the number 1 slot for me was that there actually is a little bit more of a learning curve on them. Definitely do not feel like a traditional herringbone clay shoe, but once you get used to them, for me it was about 45 minutes to an hour. My dad, it was about 25 minutes because he just plays a lot more and is generally a more skilled tennis player than I am. But once you get used to the feeling of the shoe, the one thing that he was saying was, and I didn't even pick up on this till he said it, was that even though this shoe looks like it's going to hold on to clay, it definitely lets the clay move through it.
Yeah, these don't hold on to the clay.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like
depth is unique.
Well, and it looks like it just kind of can flow through it, right? Yeah, I mean, you're barely
it doesn't hold on to clay at all like the gel resolution.
Yeah, you're barely smacking your like we barely have to smack the treads on them. I just think that unlike the herringbone where there's no breaks in between the treads, on this one kind of can flow almost like a ripple on a stream. So yeah, it'll grip. You can slide. It's almost as protective and as tactile as the Blue Shield Tornado 2, but to me, it just cuts through some of the more uneven spots of clay. I mean, I know if you're playing on pristine clay all the time, good for you. You know, that's not going to be a huge concern for you. But for these, for going through all these different patches of clay, right? The Eclipsean 5s just eat through every stage of clay that your foot goes through. So remember, these have the pop of the Eclipsean All-Court, right? It's the same shoe, just different, just different outsole. So you're getting the pop, but you're also getting kind of that protection of the Blue Shield Tornado 2 like I was talking about just a second ago. All right, and coming in at number 1, even though I didn't get invited to what looked like a super fun party at the French Open, my invitation must have gotten lost in the mail. Don't you hate it when that happens? Is the A6 Gel Resolution 9 Clay. Honestly, I was afraid I was gonna get shiny object syndrome with the Barricade 13 clay as well as the Eclipsean 5 clay, but putting back on the Gel Resolution 9, it really does show just how good this shoe is. Honestly, if you listen close enough, it sounds like I'm on a hard court. Like, that's how crazy these things are grabbing into the ground. It sounds like the squeaking of rubber on a hard court. Yeah, the tools of the Gel Resolution 9 are gonna be fantastic on a super well-maintained court, like the French Open, but on a court that, like a lot of us are actually playing on, right? These courts that are sometimes, super unforgiving. The Eclipsean 5 and the Gel Resolution 9 Clay, it's just these shoes that grab into anything and are forgiving enough that you don't feel like you're gonna fall over your knee, right? If you try to slide, right? You try to lay down, your front leg and go. But even on the worst parts of this court, this shoe is still finding something to grab into and something to give the rest of your body some confidence with. So, like I said, I know this was the #1 shoe last year, but these companies, you're not getting new updates every year. So a lot of times the shoe from a few years ago, still gonna be the best shoe this year. Same with some of my other top 5 lists for pickleball as well as tennis. So I'd love to hear your top 5 lists. If you've had some new ones that have come across your desk that you've seen that you've liked more than this list, make sure you leave me a comment down below. And of course, all the shoes shown in this video, there will be links in the description below for, and I will set up a special playlist up above if you wanna check any of these out, a little bit more of a deeper dive, and make sure you subscribe down below. Respect your rubber and foam. I'll see you somewhere in the Sneakerverse.